Basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quickly talk about something because people have brought it up. I have been writing down some prices for me because I've been going through all the videos I've done recently because weirdly I didn't actually write down what I said. It's all in my head, but I should be keeping track of it just in case. So one of the things I didn't discuss that someone asked me is, right, so you talked about doing prices for new cosmetics, you talked about prices for new war paints, but what about taunts and unusualifiers? And I was like, oh, right. So if we just go on a discussion panel, let's just get started. Let's just jump straight into it. I have been looking already. So what I did was, I thought the best thing to do was to just look at what happened. Look at the progress of all the taunts that came out last year. So 5 new taunts appeared last year. And of course, with that, there were 5 unusualifiers. So we're still currently waiting for that new update. Chat, you've got to be patient. We don't know when it's coming. You just got to keep an eye on the Steam DB. You've got to keep an eye on Steam DB. That's all we can do. So, yep. So sticking to the point, how did all of these taunts do? So let's just learn from that. And I think I've already searched for some of them. Yes, I did. So, Drunken Sailor. I searched for the name specifically because it shows both the unusualifier and the taunt. So in theory, right, I do believe that the unusualifier is probably going to be quite expensive when it first appears. Now, how do you get unusualifiers? So every time you unbox a cosmetic case during the Halloween update, you have a chance to get extras, and one of the extras is getting an unusualifier, and that's a very nice bonus, isn't it? So you're encouraged to keep unboxing cases because you do get these valuable extras, and with the unusualifier you apply it to a regular taunt. So we can only buy the unusual taunts, but to actually turn a taunt into an unusual taunt, you do need to go buy in-game or trade for a regular taunt that it's for. So you'd need to get, for example, a regular, unique Drunken Sailor taunt and then use this to apply into that, and you'll get a random effect. What might you get? It all depends. If it's during the Halloween update, it's going to be only one of those special limited time Halloween unusual effects. Or if it's not Halloween, if there's nothing going on, then it's just going to be the regular standard default unusual effects. And when that happens, so this is something we'll discuss by looking now, we can figure out certain things. So when this unusualifier first appeared, as I said, it sold for quite a high sum to begin with, but as more and more of them kept being unboxed, the price steadily went back down and down and down and down. So during the first month, from October to November, it got all the way down. This Drunken Sailor unusualifier went all the way down to about, what, $16, $17? So that's a pretty decent price. And in your head, let's start thinking averages. So, alright, so after the first month, it went down to about $17. But at its cheapest, it got really cheap. And its cheapest is now pretty much. Its cheapest is, well, if we did, it's about $6 to $7, I believe. It's actually started to kind of go up in price a bit because, you know, anticipation of the Halloween update and potential very nice taunt unusual effects and whatnot. So it's kind of gone up in price, but we have seen this sell for around $6 to $7 literally just a few weeks ago. So, all right, that's how cheap it can go. So in the first month, it was still above $15, but as time goes on throughout the year, it gets very cheap. So when you first look at this, when it first appears, do you want to do a high price to begin with? Or, if you have multiple accounts, do you want to do layered buy orders? And that's what I'm talking about here. I wrote it down. So, with unusualifiers in my currency, I'm going to put down £5 at 10 quantity. And then with a second account, I'm going to do £10, and that's at 10 quantity. So, depending if my country manages to fix itself and sort out its currency, this £5 can become more valuable. And that might mean I might offer too much money. I have to keep this into consideration. You Americans are lucky because your currency is the standard price, the set standard currency that everyone's comparing to. So anyway, let's just stick to the point. This is equal to probably around around $6 at the moment, and this is worth around 11, 12-ish. Yeah, my currency is weird at the moment. But if things do improve, this could end up being worth maybe $12, $13, $14. So I have to be prepared for that. Remember, when you put down a decent buy order at a decent price, you have to constantly keep an eye on things. You have to constantly monitor things. So that applies to hats, war paints, taunts, and unusualifiers. So I would normally do a larger quantity for the lower price, because as time goes on, you have a very good chance of picking up some very cheap ones and doing some easy flips. I still do this very regularly. And if you want to try and grab something very decent, that when it first appears, you've got to put down a very decent price that's worth maybe between, I'd say, $10 to $20. Because whilst these new taunts and unusualifiers do appear, and when they first appear they sell for a high price, it tends to go down very quickly. So do keep that in mind. So from what you can see, it appeared, sold for a very high price, and then it went down because Drunken Sailor Unusualifier and the taunt isn't that like very in demand. So now we'll look at this here. So here's a second thing that I want to quickly point out. Remember, the Halloween effects are only available during the Halloween update. The very second it's over, these go back to their default effects. And that's like 72, Screaming Tiger, Silver Cyclone, the very bad ones. Midnight Whirlwind. And that then leads to, well, some very cheap ones appearing on the market, and suddenly your buy orders might be at risk because people are still applying unusualifiers. They're getting very bad default effects, and they start dumping on the market at cheaper and cheaper and cheaper prices. The value of these goes down because, unfortunately, it's not now only unusual effects, Halloween unusual effects and these unusuals. Now we also have unusuals with the bad default effects, and they get dumped and the prices go down. So this is something you have to keep an eye on for, and this is why I do 2 buy orders, maybe 3, depending on how I don't know, desperate I want them. So from what we can see here, in the long term, the $5 to $10 buy order would work out very nicely because, as I said, the default effects appear, they get dumped, prices go down. But if you have that very nice low ball buy order still, you're still going to pick them up for cheaper and sell them for more. Sound good? So that's in your pocket just in case. So after the first month, this went from like $70 to $80 and went all the way down on average to about $20. Yes, about $20, yeah. And then right now it's gone down steadily all the way down to the current price of around, well, the highest buy order, let's work from that. The highest buy order currently is $10. So that is what we're working with right now. A $10 buy order for a thing that was selling for around $20 last year during the October. So, do you get a good idea of how things are playing out now? Do you understand the weird things that you've got to keep an eye out for? Yes, it was fairly funny when it first appeared, but then, the whole, okay, this new thing's not fun anymore, I don't want it anymore. It's like, that can happen. But, there are some things that have managed to hold value, like the Homerunner's hobby. People actually like this a lot. Scout does get used a lot. So the Unusualifier and the actual taunt are valuable and are in demand. And in theory, this is something you need to be prepared for. If the taunt is in demand, the Unusualifier is probably going to be more valuable, simply because if the taunt is in demand, if we get new very awesome effects, people are going to chase to get awesome effects on let me rephrase. People are going to chase getting the very cool looking new Halloween effects onto the very in-demand taunt by applying unusualifiers onto it. So that is probably the reason why this unusualifier is selling for a whole lot more compared to the taunt. And quite recently you can see it steadily rising up in price. So yeah, in recent times it has climbed up a bit. Not hugely, but yeah. And I think some anticipation purchases happened towards the end of July. So when this first appeared, as we can see, sold for a fairly high price of about $50 to $60. And then it gradually went down to around, on average, still $30 to $35. Still very nice. But, as time goes on, it got cheap. And around June time, this was selling for between $15 to $20. Still good, though. So how do you predict if something's going to be in demand like this? Like, how can you predict if it's going to do well? You can't really. If it's just a funny taunt, you got to know this. Do you know what you can do? You could go to the workshop right now. Let's go do that, chat. Let's go explore. Let's go learn. Chat, what new taunts might we see for the update that we're still waiting for? I'm literally right now, I am literally still waiting for the update. I'm unsure. Last year, the update came out on a Tuesday, and it came out my time, 10 o'clock, 10:30. So technically speaking, if we're going to match up to last year, we still got an hour's wait. So we are going to do that race, don't you worry. Sorry, chat's asking about a giveaway. So items, taunts, chat. What taunts might we see? There are some things here that we have to... So there's also unusual effects here. But, you know, we got this, 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 we got this. So these are popular taunts at the moment. Here's Spy hiding in a coffin. I just want to see the thing. I just want to actually... everything's an advertisement. Oh, no, there you go. Cool. See? I imagine that's actually going to get picked. I think that's perfectly fitting for Halloween. That's a great themed gimmick for Halloween. So I would imagine that would get picked. He says, and then they don't pick it. Watch what happens. So yeah, that's cool. I would imagine that has a good chance of being picked. It looks very well done. It looks very silly. And I imagine that would be fairly in demand and pricey to begin with. So you've got to explore. You have to research. You have to keep an eye out and see what might appear. Now this... I don't think that would be valuable. It's very quick. It's silly, but it's very, very quick. And I don't think so. I don't think so. So again, apply some knowledge... learn from the past, from other effects, other taunts, and yeah. And then there's another thing that I want to discuss, because very long idle ones... sorry, it's loud for me. So silly idle ones like this tend to do quite alright. They're not always in demand, but even then they tend to suffer. It depends how silly it is. So idle taunts like this... we'll see. But there's another type of taunt that I want to discuss, and that's the Kart taunt. So, yeah. We got a lot of these. Yeah, the grilling one. The grilling one 100% would do well. If Rancho Relaxo did great, surely, grilling NG would do well as well. I hope that gets accepted. Simply because you could just sit there and grill. I mean, come on. You can have your sentry guarding you, and you can just sit there and grill steaks. I mean, it's perfect. So, there is the Kart taunt. Chat. Sorry about that. Oh, mate. Okay, so last year we got Mannbulance. This year we potentially might see a new Kart type of taunt appear. I believe the year before we saw the Pyro motorbike. So now that we got that quickly established, I can quickly hide this away. And yep, so this is doing well. But I want to talk about the Mannbulance, because the Mannbulance was a Kart style effect, and it's still valuable. If you have if we see a new taunt come out that's like riding a car, and you can just ride it around everywhere, people want them. And I've bought tons of these. I've definitely bought more than 10. I've bought like 10 of these Mannbulance, the actual unusual ones. I bought them for cheap, sold them for more. So Kart style effects, which is something now that I'm keep being aware of. These are usually always in demand, and yeah, these are something that you really do want to chase. So, how did it do when it first appeared? Oh, you know, the very first one sold for like $120. Alright, you know, that makes sense. And on average, throughout October, they were selling above $30 to $40. Like, they're selling around $30 to $40. And as time goes on, it's actually been fairly stable. Right now, the highest buy order is $22. So, it's still held up very nicely, and compared. So when you compare all of these taunts from last year, the Mannbulance is the one that's currently doing the best. So I'm very sorry about that screaming. I don't know why Workshop always has it at max volume. But if we do see like another Kart style unusual come out, Kart style taunt come out, then its unusual will definitely be valuable. Therefore, its Unusualifier will also be valuable. So when we look at its Unusualifier, same thing. Buy orders are pretty much nearly the same, $22.40. So yeah, they have value. And I wouldn't be surprised that these probably go up in price if we see some very cool looking new Halloween effects coming out. Maybe today, at some point this month. Can it hurry up, please? Please, can it hurry up? So yeah, let's go see the history of this. And it's looking very similar to the actual taunt. So yeah, when it first appeared, this sold for like $70 to $80. And by the end of October, it's still selling above $40. So yeah, very similar to the taunt. Sorry if this was a bit rambly, but it's something that you'll keep an eye out for. Now, my prices that I'm offering are still fairly safe, and for many of you, you've only got one account maybe. I've got several, as you've seen. I've been keeping an eye on all of my prices. I've been keeping an eye on what I can offer. I can offer more, but if you have multiple accounts, you can play it very safe and you can be a bit more aggressive. So that's something for you to keep an eye out for. That's buying taunts and Unusualifiers. Chat, is there anything else? Is there anything else that you might want to ask? Is there any questions? Yep. Right. So yeah, another quick thing, of course, much like with hats, we sometimes get some very fun all-class style taunts as well, whether it's dancing or, interacting with another person. Those tend to be more valuable as well. So, you know how we have like man aerobics? Well, that's valuable, isn't it? There you go. It's still valuable after all this time. But the Unusualifier costs more because the chance to get some very good new effects onto an in-demand taunt, very valuable. So that's why these have very likely have been bought out very recently. Yeah, they've slowly, progressively gone up. Yes. They've gone up by like 30%. Yeah. So yeah, that happens. Chat, that is taunts and Unusualifiers. Sorry if it was quite long. Will I be buy ordering? Okay, you're asking things about other stuff, so we'll finish it now. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.